March 19, 1997. Over the jungle of Samarinda, Indonesia, a French-built Alouette 3 helicopter flies toward a remote mining camp. Inside is Michael de Guzman, a Filipino geologist. Moments later, the helicopter door opens. De Guzman exits the aircraft, falling 800 feet into the dense rainforest below. The Indonesian military recovered a body 4 days later. The remains were heavily decomposed, and identification relied entirely on a suicide note and a driver's license found in the area. The death occurred at a critical financial moment. De Guzman was the chief geologist for Bre-X Minerals, a minor Canadian mining company based in Calgary. 2 years earlier, Bre-X was trading as a penny stock. Its fortunes shifted entirely when the company announced an immense gold discovery along the Busang River in East Kalimantan. Initial core drilling suggested a reserve of 2 million ounces of gold. By early 1997, consecutive corporate press releases upgraded that estimate to 71 million ounces. The announcement triggered a massive global investment rush. The stock price escalated from 30 cents to 286 Canadian dollars. The company achieved a market valuation of over $6 billion, gaining listing status on the Toronto Stock Exchange and the Nasdaq. The entire valuation depended on the crushed rock samples processed under de Guzman's direct supervision. To understand how the asset valuation reached billions of dollars, investigators had to retrace the journey of the Busang core samples. In a standard mining operation, cylindrical rock cores are extracted from deep underground, split in half, and sent to independent laboratories to measure the exact amount of gold per ton. The Busang cores routinely registered remarkably consistent, high-grade gold concentrations. What independent auditors did not know was that the rock inside the Busang deposit contained virtually no native gold. The high test results were achieved through a systematic process known as salting. According to later forensic audits conducted by Strathcona Mineral Services, de Guzman and his team manually added external gold to the crushed core samples before shipping them to testing facilities. In the initial stages, de Guzman used gold filings scraped from his own wedding ring. As the drilling operation expanded to hundreds of holes, the demand for gold increased. The team began purchasing alluvial gold dust from local Indonesian river panners. A specialized forensic report later revealed that the gold particles under the microscope possessed rounded edges, characteristic of river-worn gold. Genuine core samples yield jagged, sharp-edged gold particles locked inside the host rock. The independent assay labs processed the altered samples at face value, issuing the certificates Bre-X executives utilized to compile public reports for Wall Street investors. The architecture of the deception began to fracture when the Indonesian government pressured Bre-X to partner with a larger, operational mining corporation to execute the actual extraction. In February 1997, Bre-X finalized an agreement with Freeport-McMoRan, an American mining giant with extensive infrastructure in Indonesia. Freeport engineers arrived at the Busang site to conduct independent due diligence. They drilled new holes immediately adjacent to the locations where Bre-X claimed to have found massive gold concentrations. The Freeport cores yielded near zero traces of gold. Freeport management requested an urgent meeting with de Guzman to reconcile the direct contradiction in data. The meeting was scheduled to take place at the Busang camp on March 19, 1997. De Guzman boarded the helicopter to attend this specific meeting, but he never arrived. Following de Guzman's death, the Bre-X board of directors hired Strathcona Mineral Services to run an emergency audit. On May 4, 1997, Strathcona released its final findings to the public. The report stated that the Busang gold deposit was a total fabrication, describing it as the most sophisticated financial fraud in mining history. The publication of the Strathcona audit triggered an immediate structural collapse. Bre-X stock fell to zero in a single trading session, wiping out over $6 billion in shareholder equity. Public pension funds across Canada and the United States lost hundreds of millions of dollars in retirement capital. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police launched a multi-year international investigation into corporate insiders, including Bre-X chief executive David Walsh and exploration manager John Felderhoff. Walsh maintained his innocence, claiming he had no knowledge of the technical manipulation on the ground. He relocated to the Bahamas, where he died of a brain aneurysm in 1998, prior to any criminal prosecution. In 2007, a Canadian court officially cleared John Felderhoff of insider trading charges, concluding that the prosecution failed to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that he was aware of the fraudulent assay tracking. No senior corporate executive ever faced prison time. The definitive truth regarding the Busang fraud remains buried in the Indonesian jungle. Numerous theories persist regarding the fate of Michael de Guzman. Several private investigators and journalists have theorized that the body recovered by the military belonged to a different individual, suggesting de Guzman faked his own demise and escaped the country with millions of dollars in pre-crash stock sales. Autopsy records from 1997 note that the height and facial characteristics of the recovered body were difficult to verify due to extreme decomposition. The Bre-X scandal forced international stock exchanges to completely overhaul their reporting requirements for natural resource companies. The manual validation of core samples became mandatory, ending an era where billions of dollars could be generated based entirely on the unverified contents of a remote storage locker. The Busang site remains abandoned. The drilling rigs have been reclaimed by vegetation, leaving a vast clearing in the rainforest as the only physical reminder of a multi-billion-dollar gold mine that never existed. Deception succeeds because systems rely on trust, and human greed is entirely predictable. If you want to understand the architecture behind history's greatest financial illusions, subscribe to Noirithm. Join us for the next case.